Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Happy Saturday. Lauren Jabari here with Alex Glaze. Alex, it's a Saturday. There's only one college football game today, but the bowl game's right around the corner. We cannot even wait for it to start before the show. We were just watching College Game Day and looking at some of the Heisman contenders. What do you think about that?
I think it is going to be interesting tonight. A lot of worthy candidates. I can't necessarily speak on it too much as a Heisman voter.
He is a Heisman voter. I mean, he's just like brushing his shoulder as a Heisman voter.
But listen, a lot of worthy candidates. Really, it's funny how 1 week can change things, right? Like I
Yeah.
think the Ohio State game really put Aiden Hutchinson, even though he's been incredible all season, that really put him on the map. Probably knocked a guy like Kenneth Walker out of being a finalist. But it's just really interesting to see how it's going to be really interesting to see how tonight shakes out.
It is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be Bryce Young, Hutchinson, Stroud, Pickett. That's my order. If I were voting, I am not a Heisman voter. You're not allowed to say.
Kenny
But we'll
Pickett
see.
changed the game. The fake slide. No
I
more
know it
fakes. I
is.
mean,
That's the thing. It's like all four of them are such incredible players, and
they
they're
are.
all worthy. So it's just going to depend on. It's all opinion based, right? So it's just going to depend on who the voters, as in you and everyone else, thought did the most to impact their team this season. But we'll see how that all shakes out tonight. It's going to be really, really exciting. All right.
Yep.
Before we get started, make sure you're liking, subscribing. We're doing this show every single day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And also make sure to mention that we're gambling responsibly. Dial the number if you're having a gambling issue, 1-800-GAMBLER. So it's really easy to remember, 1-800-GAMBLER. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment, 10 a.m. Eastern time every day. There's a lot of bowl games coming up, and it's going to be super exciting. So today we're talking about college basketball. Quite a few games on the slate tonight. Alex and I have a couple of our picks for you. We have the Army-Navy picks heading into today. College football predictions, what we're looking for with all these bowl games coming up, the playoffs. We have NHL Ice Picks
Playoffs.
and without our Pickswise play of the day and our best bets of the day. So a lot of things to get to, full slate. Without further ado, let's get it. Let's bet it. NCAA basketball tonight, Alex, full slate, but a game that stands out to you. You got Marquette, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at Marquette getting 7 points against UCLA, the number 4 team in the country. That game pushed back to tonight, actually. It was supposed to be an afternoon game, but some travel issues with UCLA, which, I mean, Lauren, you know how this goes, right? With travel issues that could throw off meals, shoot arounds, checking into hotels. It throws the whole schedule off. So that is already going to make things interesting. And I thought that was already going to be an interesting game because we talked about this earlier in the week with Ohio State, with Towson coming to town, kind of the look-ahead game. But, we were talking about Ohio State, and when Duke, a better team than Ohio State, right? I think that's safe to say, came to Ohio State, hostile environment, lost. That just happens in college basketball. So this is Marquette's Super Bowl, right? You have UCLA, the number 4 team in the country, getting 7 points. Wouldn't shock me if Marquette, a very good team, was able to pull off the upset. So if I'm catching 7 points, I'm going to take those. I mean, we saw last night, you had DePaul beating Louisville. You had, I mean, this wasn't really, I guess it was an upset. You had Murray State going to Memphis and pulling off a win. Weird things happen in college basketball. So I'm going to take the 7 points.
You talked about Ohio State a little bit. I'm actually on their game tonight. Number 22 in the country, Wisconsin, taking on number 21.
You don't want to spend your afternoon watching that, right?
I know. I'm going to tune in, but I actually am betting this game just because I feel kind of strongly about it. But you know what? I'm going to flip back and forth. There's going to be so many games on today. College basketball for the most part. Then we have Army, Navy. There's a lot going on.
It's a great slate of college basketball today, though.
Yeah, there's also quite a few NHL games today, which I'm pretty excited about as well. So lots to choose from for your betting on this beautiful Saturday, even though there isn't very much college football. But I look at that Wisconsin-Ohio State game. I like Ohio State laying 4.5. It's a Big Ten battle. Wisconsin rallied to beat Indiana the other night. I think it was at home on Wednesday night.
They were down like 15, 17 at half, something like that.
Yeah. And sorry to fade your Towson team, but you know what? Ohio State had a big win over them at home.
But Towson covered. Towson covered the 15 points.
Towson did cover, but yeah, the Towson did cover. You hate to see it. You know what? But Wisconsin has shown grit. They rallied to win games like we saw against Indiana, and sooner or later, they're going to have to play a full 40 minutes if they hope to put one in the win column. I said going on a road in a hostile environment like Columbus, daunting task for basically a team that's that's a one-note team in my opinion, and I don't know, it pretty much sums up that Wisconsin, there isn't much to rely on offensively outside of maybe Davis and Davidson for their team. Ohio State beaten Duke already this season. The Buckeyes, they have some depth um, to work into their rotation, and I think that's good. Getting fresh legs, having that good rotation, that good depth for their team. I think playing at home, you can think that look at this play on words. The Buckeyes can tame the Badgers. Okay.
Oh, there
Wisconsin's
we
not
go.
going to be able to feed on a crowd like they did against Indiana. And I think Ohio State is able to win and cover the spread in this one, laying 4.5. What do you think?
Uh, I don't I don't hate the pick.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to me. What's gonna decide this game is how does Ohio State's offense react to Wisconsin's defense, right? Because Wisconsin is one of the better defenses in the
Yeah.
country. We saw that against Indiana. Ohio State offensively, little streaky at times. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that matchup kind of works itself out. What's the total for this game? I think it was 135 and a
Yeah.
half, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really low. That's really low. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if I would lay the 4 points, but I also wouldn't trust Wisconsin with 4 points because, like you said,
I don't think Wisconsin's
offensively
offense
they
is
don't
going to
have
be able
much.
to keep up. Even though Wisconsin's defense is really good, I don't think their offense is going
Ohio
to be.
State's a deeper team too, so
Yeah. And at some point, Ohio State's just gonna, like show what they're capable of doing. They're a really good team this season, and depth is
absolutely.
a big thing. Having fresh legs is a big thing. Having a good rotation is a big thing. And if their second unit's able to keep up with their first unit, keep things going, break down at Wisconsin's defense, I think it's going to be a really interesting game. Another game that I'm looking at is Houston going up against Alabama, number 13 versus number 9. I think that's going to be a really exciting game. It's kind of a toss up in this one. Bama's laying 1.5, and I'm actually taking that bet. I'm taking Bama laying points.
Mm.
I mean, both teams are incredible. They only have one loss in the year. The Cougars enter 8-1. Alabama comes in 7-1. I think Houston is a really good team with a couple solid wins on their resume so far. That does a lot for the confidence. But I think they might be a bit over their head in a game like this against Alabama. You look at what Alabama's been able to do. Huge win against Gonzaga the other day. Jared would say, I think that this is a letdown spot for a team like Alabama, and that may be true if they were facing a lesser opponent. But Houston is a formidable foe. I cannot see the Tide being flat in a game like this, right? They have the defensive edge, Houston does. Alabama has the offensive edge in a game like this, and they're playing at home. So you look at what Alabama is able to do. They defend the three ball really well, and that's going to be a key against a good 3-point shooting team. And lastly, look at this stat that I just pulled out of freaking left field. Alabama 18-7-1 against their spread in their last 26 home games versus a team with a road winning percentage of greater than 600. So
Sold. I'm sold. And that
sample size though, 18-7-1
I
against
mean
the
that's a big
spread.
right. That's not a small sample size.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
significant.
I know.
Looking at the
I dug deep for that one. I
I was gonna
dug
say,
deep.
yeah, you did a little bit of research there. I'm looking at the splits right now. It looks like about 65% of the tickets, 91% of the money on Bama. So
Mm.
the public seems to agree
Bama
with
straight up or Bama spread?
spread.
Mm.
So the public seems to be agreeing with you, Lauren. How do you feel about that?
I feel good about it. You know what? I usually kind of go against the public and bet the underdog. Woo. But in a game like this, when I think all of the numbers, even though sometimes we say stats are for losers, in a game like this, when all the numbers kind of favor a team like Alabama, even though they are ranked so closely together, I think that Alabama's defense, especially their perimeter defense, is going to be able to hold Houston, and that's going to be the key, I think, in this game. Because if you can't get the three ball going, sometimes you can't just ground and pound, drive the paint the entire game. You got to make some threes, and I
Absolutely.
think that Alabama's going to be able to shut them down on that front. Are there any other games you're looking at for tonight? Not even that you're betting, but that kind of stand out to you.
College basketball, no. I mean, it's a great slate, but I think for the most part, I'm gonna kind of sit back. I mean, listen, my
Easy.
love-hate relationship with the kids this early in the season. So I'm just kind of sitting back, seeing who's who, what's what, and kind of watching things shake out a little bit before I really dive into college basketball. Looking at the chat right now, though, somebody's asking, how do we feel about Auburn today. We got Brian. Let me see
Mm-mm.
who is Auburn playing
How do
today.
we feel about
How do we feel
Auburn?
about Auburn? And we're not
About
talking
football.
football, so let me, we're not talking Auburn football here.
It is so weird that there is only one football game going on today. Like I have college game day on right now, and I'm just kind of seeing, but the crowd looks absolutely lit for this
I mean,
Army.
yeah, I mean, listen, it's Army Navy. I mean, of course it's
Yeah,
like, all right, so we got Nebraska Auburn at a neutral site today. Nebraska Auburn.
I'm letting you
Uh,
take the reins on this one, Alex.
you're gonna let me take the reins. Thank you. I really
Yeah,
appreciate you passing this one off to me.
pass it up.
Uh, honestly, I haven't really looked too much into that game. I'm looking at the Pickswise website right now, though. We got 2 stars from Matt Weisenfeld on the over 149. So he's feeling pretty good about that. 1 star on Auburn laying 13.5 points. One thing I will say, I'm not sure I would lay 13.5
That's a lot of
points
points
in
to
college
lay.
basketball against,
Yeah.
I'm
These
just not laying
games for
13.5
college
points.
basketball this season have been, like,
The
wild.
talent gap is very close. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Like,
it's not
Rutgers
wide
the other
anymore.
day, Rutgers getting the win, when was that, 2 nights ago?
It was 2 nights
That was
ago.
unbelievable. That was unbelievable.
But it's one of those situations, like I said, Rutgers at home taking on, I mean, Purdue, maybe, I mean, number 1, but, little fluky, maybe. I don't know. Good team, but number 1, I don't know. But it's just one of those situations where you don't know what's going on with these kids. You don't know.
Yeah.
13 and a
I
half
mean,
points, it's a lot of points to lay, but looking at what Matt Weidenfeld's saying, a lot of pace for both these teams in the game. Yeah, so he's feeling good about the over here.
that brings
Auburn
me to a
19th
point
in
about a
offensive
team
efficiency per KenPom.
that brings me to a team like Purdue, right? Losing a game like that. I know people were talking about them this season. They're a true number 1. I think Jared and I talked about it on the show the other day with Purdue. When you see a game like that, when they lose to Rutgers by 2, I mean, would you say that that's a fluke game? Or when you look at a team like Purdue, are you like, maybe, they have a little more weaknesses than what we thought they did at the beginning of the season?
Hold on, I can't. I'm gonna just share something with you really quickly. Little
Okay.
personal here. One of my many flaws, actually, I have like 4 flaws, is I can't read and listen at the same time. It's like I can't text and talk. So I'm reading a comment here from our friend Matt Bratt, which I'll get to in a second. But you sounded like Charlie Brown, like when you're just like wah, wah, wah. That's all I that's all I heard. So what did you say? I'll get to the question in a second. But what did you say?
When I said when you look at a team like Purdue and what losing to a team like Rutgers, I know Jared and I talked about it the other day that they're the true number 1 team. They deserve to be number 1. When they lose by 2 like that, is it 1 a fluke or is it 2 like, hey, we kind of noticed some of the flaws that they might have, some of the
It's college
weaknesses that they might have?
basketball. No, it's just college basketball, going
Yeah.
on the road, conference play, Purdue and Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers might not be a good basketball team, but they play Purdue. You know what I mean? Like it's a conference game, it's a road game, tough environment. Like I said, when you go on the road in conference too, that environment's going to be crazy.
Mhm.
So it's just college basketball. Like it's December, no need to
That's tough
overreact.
to bet on the kids sometimes.
No, yeah, exactly. That's why it's tough. You don't know, and
Mhm.
especially when you look at like the Ohio States and the Towsons, they might say, Towson, whatever. 2 for Tuesday. Let's go out. We can still get this game. You don't know what's going on with the kids. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to get to a comment real quick before we bring in our friend Mark Zinno from Matt Bratt. Heisman voters leave out Walker, who was most outstanding player. First time that's ever happened. And they bring in Hutchinson over Will Anderson, who has better numbers than Hutch. Fail from voters.
Ooh.
Your thoughts
Calling
on
you out.
I mean, you don't know what my ballot said just yet. So, I mean, what I would say though, with Hutchinson being a finalist, in my opinion,
Mhm.
I think that he has been great all season, right? But the Heisman has it's turned into a quarterback award, right? It is what it is. It's tough for position players, let alone defensive players to win the Heisman. So when you look at kind of how the game of football has, changed and we have spread offenses and all this stuff, when you have the
Mhm.
Bryce Youngs, the CJ Strouds, the Kenny Pickett's, playing in those offenses, and they put up gaudy numbers. They're throwing for 400 yards some weeks, 4 touchdowns. I mean, the numbers are just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now, what I would argue is, I mean, the outlier or the example isn't necessarily Kenneth Walker, who's had a great season. It's Jonathan Taylor, right? How does Jonathan
Mhm.
Taylor have multiple 2,000-yard seasons? I think he ran for 6,000 yards in his
Yeah.
career, didn't win a Heisman. I don't was he even a finalist? I'm not even sure he was a
I don't
finalist.
think he was a finalist. Yeah.
So that's the example that kind of stands out like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. And with the Will Anderson stuff, Will Anderson has had great numbers, but what I would say is kind of along the lines of with Kenny Pickett putting up big numbers, the team, the unit hasn't had the results, right? So Bama's defense hasn't necessarily been great this year.
Mhm.
Michigan's defense has been one of the
Right.
best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
And Aiden Hutchinson's been a game wrecker week in and week out, and people have noticed that. That's just my opinion. That's kind of how I see things. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Actually, I think we should bring in Mark Zinno for this one. Let's
Oh, way to
bring in
cop out. Yeah, let's bring in Zinno.
No, no,
Let's
no,
bring in
I have an opinion on this, but I think that he probably would too. So
Zinno
let's
would
bring
too. Yeah.
in Zinno. I
Yeah.
wanna hear his thoughts on this as well, but I also agree with you. I think it's a little bit unfair, but at the same time, it is. It's how your team's performing, how your unit's performing within a game every single week, week after week, and then how you're performing within your defensive unit week after week after week. So I totally agree with you on that. But the thing that sucks is sometimes if your team isn't doing that well, you might not be getting the recognition that you necessarily would be if you have a defense like Michigan or an offense like Alabama's with Bryce Young, and we saw what he was able to do. Or you know what I mean, like a guy like Kenny Pickett who's made the difference for Pitt this year. But Aiden Hutchinson has made the difference for Michigan's defense this year, and Michigan's defense is in the top 3 in the nation. So I don't know, Mark. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, I agree with you that Hutchinson's not going to get the recognition he deserves. When you talk about guys who actually have the most effect on a game, right? Like he's probably in the top 2 or 3. You can look at Bryce Young, who's going to be the prohibitive favorite and likely the winner of this whole
Yeah,
thing. Does he have an effect on his team? Yes, but Alabama's loaded with talent all over the place.
yeah,
Not so much the offensive line this year, but different discussion. But generally, he's got elite receivers, he's got elite running backs, he's got elite defensive play. Like Alabama's a juggernaut. And that's why, even to a certain extent, my vote would have went to Kenny Pickett. And I told Glaze this earlier in the
wow,
week, and he scoffed at me. Dude, who plays at Pitt? I mean, this is a guy who literally elevated that entire offense to one of the best ones in the country. And the kid has just gone out and performed routinely week in and week out, 40 touchdown passes, yards all over the place. I mean, he's not really working with the level of talent that some of these other quarterbacks in the country are. And the fact that he's been able to, even CJ Stroud, again, look at that wide receiver core he has. If any of those
mhm,
dudes played with Kenny Pickett, he'd be the
yeah,
Heisman winner hands down,
yeah.
hands down. So, I mean, that's my vote. And it's been that way since the middle of the year when he really started to emerge as a name that people started to like. I just
Wow.
appreciate the body of work the kid put together. Granted, it's the ACC, not a lot of great defenses, but still, he's not loaded with a lot of talent around him enough to be able to put up those numbers.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how things kind of shake out there. And it is all opinion based. It's like, obviously I say Hutchinson's gonna win. Alex, I can't say who he's gonna win because he was a Heisman voter, but it's somewhat different than me. And
I'm
then
still
you think,
perplexed how Glaze gets a Heisman vote.
yeah,
Why are
I
you
know.
surprised? Why are you
Why are
surprised?
you so special? Like
Yeah,
what?
like what are you like? Not even 30 yet, dude. Like, how do you have a Heisman vote?
Just turned 30. Just turned 30. I voted last year as well. So
Oh,
I'm a Heisman voter. I don't just have a vote. I'm a voter.
How
oh,
does how does one get to be a Heisman voter? Like, do people reach out to you? Like, do you have to
All
do
I have to say
something?
is you're asked. Some people are asked. I don't know.
oh.
The
Many are
chosen
called, few are
few.
chosen. Alex
That's what I'm
Glaze.
saying. I mean,
Chosen few.
it's not like you can reach out and apply to be sometimes some people are just asked. I don't know why I was asked. I didn't ask any questions.
The
You
chosen few,
accept.
some people are just built different, if you
Yes.
will. You know what I mean? Okay. Let's get into the game today. Army taking on Navy.
Well, we have to introduce Zinno properly
Oh,
before we talk. We're talking to Lieutenant Colonel Mark Zinno as we get ready for the Army Navy game. That's
I
that's
love
how we
it.
got
And
to
he has his
introduce
shirt
him.
on right now
Well,
too.
listen, if Lauren can wear her Michigan shirt the weekend of Ohio State Mission, I certainly can wear an Army shirt, but I'm going to do it one better because I'm going to
There
don.
we go. Let's
Oh my
go.
God.
Let's
Here
Yes.
we
go.
go. Let's go.
Thank you for your service.
Let's go. My
we
boys, what is
appreciate that
it?
you're on this show today talking about this
Beat
game. I'm
Navy.
so
Let's
excited.
go.
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Okay, so we're getting ready, and you especially are getting ready for what should resemble basically a fist fight in the trenches
Yep.
when Navy goes against Army. Mark, I'm going to start with you on this one. When you look at a game like this, what are you betting? Obviously, we know who you want to win this game, but what are you betting when you look at everything kind of put together?
I'm going to lay the 7 points with Army. The number has come down from 7.5 to 7.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because these are traditional scoring type games. It's 17-10, it's 21-14, it's 13-6. That half point is all the difference in the world. I think it was 3 seasons ago. Army was favored by 7.5, and they won the game 17-10. They missed a field goal in that game. It was a difference between them covering and not covering. So if when you go to the window to make a bet and you're seeing 7.5 and nothing else, I don't do it often. I buy the half point just to cover myself and get the number of 7 so you possibly could get a push. I know the story this week around the line, guys, has been the total. 15 years in a row, the under has come in, and they set this thing at 37. It was quickly bet down. I think it's at 34.5 right now.
Overdue.
Mhm.
It's due.
Odds makers are daring you to take the under here, but this isn't statistically based. These two teams together combined to score 55 points a game, and combined they give up 52 points a game. So clearly, odds makers said, we're not dealing with any of that. We're just going to put this total so low that we're daring people to take the under again and see if this thing continues. Now,
Yeah.
in the last 15 years, the total has only eclipsed 40 5 times. So they play to the under. Why? Because this triple option offense, which is so hard to defend, and you
Yeah.
saw Army score 56 points on Wake because they don't know how to defend it. Well, Navy does. And Army knows how to defend it because they face it every day in practice. So that's why this is such a competitive matchup. But Army is deeper than Navy. Their quarterback, Christian Anderson, has already rushed for 1,000 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns on the year. Army has 4 different rushers who have rushed between 300 and 500 yards in the season. So they have a lot of options offensively. They'll take a few more shots through the air than Navy will. Navy quarterback Ty Lavatai has had a good season, but he just doesn't have the depth and doesn't have the sort of the ability to run the way Christian Anderson does. So I give Army the edge in that spot. I will say that both of these teams will take a shot down the field in the air at some point. Whether they convert it is anybody's guess. If they do, it's a huge momentum swing, and it could be something that turns the tide of the game. But I'm backing my boys here, both emotionally and with my own wallet. I'm laying the 7 today.
I like it. I'm actually backing you too. I'm telling you with this one. I'm taking Army laying the points, laying 7. And you talked about them begging people to take the under. I have bet the under. I've done it. I know we
Don't be
say
scared
stats are
about it.
for losers.
Don't be scared about it.
You're officially betting the under too?
No, I mean, I don't want to get involved on the total on this one, but I'll say this much. You have an extra defender, and it's the clock because it's going to continue to run
Yeah.
because they don't throw that much. So, you just want to see this thing churned up. Now, the other thing that's in the under's favor today is the weather. An unseasonably balmy 65 degrees at MetLife Stadium today. However, 60% chance of rain. And all you're hoping for, Lauren, is that somebody in the red zone fumbles the ball and turns it over,
yeah.
and it just keeps you moving. These are college kickers. They're not very good college kickers. Why? Because they're an Army and Navy. They have better things to do with their time. And so you'll see a missed field goal. Is there a prop for a missed field goal? Take it. Because I guarantee you one of these kids is going to choke. I hope they don't choke in combat, but, different discussion for a different time. So from that standpoint, I think the under is the play. Can Army get to 20? Yes. They should be able to score 3 touchdowns in this game. Does 20-10 seem like a plausible final? Yes. Does that still keep you under? Absolutely, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. So the under is a good play. Under hit in the series 15 straight times. 15 straight in the last 15. Alex, when you look at this game, who are you on? And
I'm
don't
on the
go
other
against
side.
our boy Mark. Come on now.
I'm on the other side.
Lieutenant.
I'm on the other side. I'm going to take the 7 points with Navy here.
Asking for a bad
You would.
day.
You would.
Listen, I'm taking the 7 points with Navy for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, listen, before we get into the nitty gritty, because I think you can throw out the stats. You can throw out the stats, throw out all this stuff from the season, whatever. None of that matters. These are 2 teams. This is going to be a great game, right? 2 triple option offenses. It's going to be just a slugfest, right? So with a total so low, right, and Vegas daring you to take the under, both of you talked about flirting with the under. Why wouldn't you take 7 points and pocket them? Points are going to be so valuable in this game that to me, just off that alone, I'm going to pocket the 7 points. And then when I take it a step further and look at the schedules of these two teams, because, you see Army with their 8-3 record. Yeah, they're not playing Georgia State today. Sorry, no offense, Georgia State. Yeah, they're not playing UConn. They're not playing Miami of Ohio. They're not playing Ball State. They're not playing Bucknell, UMass, Liberty. You look at Navy's schedule. They have played 10 bowl-eligible teams this year. They played Cincinnati tough. They played Notre Dame. They didn't play Notre Dame tough. That was right there.
No,
They played
did
Cincinnati
not.
tough. That was a 7-point game, right?
Yeah.
And then you just look. 10 bowl eligible teams. Like, that's not a fluke. So yeah, they're 3-8, but they have played some really. Oh, look at Zinno working his keyboard now. He's trying to find some stats. He's trying to cover himself. Like, oh my gosh, how is this going?
My hands are right. I have all my notes in front of me. I'm well prepared as a military officer should be.
But I'm just looking at the schedules, and I'm like, yeah, they're 3-8, but they're playing some really quality opponents here. So I'm not necessarily putting too much stock into that. I just think 7 points is too many points in this game, which traditionally has not been close. It has not been close, but I think this year's going to be a little bit different. So
well, you have to give credit to Navy. 5 of their 8 losses have been by 1 score. You mentioned the game of Cincinnati and Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're competitive, and the game is going to be competitive. But I just don't see how Navy has the offense to score in this game. I would look at a Navy team total under. If you're at 14.5 or even 13, somewhere in that range, even at 11.5, 10 might be the cap that they get to in this spot. And I just trust Army's offense to find the end zone more, which they're really good at. I would expect too that Army can break a long run at some point, and turn the tide of the game that way.
See, I don't see.
Field position is going to be a big part of this game.
We've talked about that. I think there's. I was looking at the weather report. I think there's still some wind in the area. We're talking about the temperature. I think there's going to be some wind. So the very few passes that maybe were going to be thrown. I don't know about that anymore. Any deep shots, but big runs, I don't see that, because these are two. They're looking in the mirror at each other, right? They're two offenses that pretty much face each other in practice every day. So they know how to play defense against the
Here's the
AAA.
thing for me. I think Army is going to be one of those teams offensively. I don't think they're going to be like a blast offense by any means, but I think they're going to be able to move the chain, slowly work their way up and down the field, and just run the clock out. And then in terms of defenses, I trust Army's defense to hold up better than Navy's in this game. They've done a better job of defending the run this season, and that's basically what Navy does.
Andre Carter, their linebacker, has 13.5 sacks this year. He's a really talented player for Army, right? It's, 13.5 sacks is big for Army, but again, they're not exactly, as you said, playing the cream of the crop offenses here. And to your guys' point, man, look, this game is aesthetically ugly, right? It's the lights coming on in the bar at 2 a.m. Nothing looks good at that point in time. You're going to sit there for 3 hours and stare at this. It's not a lot of fun unless you like watching that sort of game. I appreciate it. A la Bill Belichick on Monday night last week. That's what you're going to watch for the better part of 3 hours.
Hold on. Bill Belichick, did he have an Army mask on? I'm trying to remember. Was that an Army mask, or was that?
No,
it was.
He's tied into Navy.
So do you think? But do you think Bill Belichick's putting on? How do you think Bill Belichick's feeling about this game? Do you think he went into this looking at what Army does, or do you think he looked at what Navy does? I know his history, but I think Bill Belichick's a Navy guy. I'm riding with Bill Belichick. I'm gonna take the. I'm chirping at you all day today.
Thanks, Lauren. I appreciate the support.
Yeah, Alex has Bill. I got Mark.
There you go. I appreciate it.
I like my chances.
Can't go against the lieutenant like that, especially when he's wearing his cap. Come on now. Come on now. You're setting yourself up for failure already, and it's only 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday. All right, moving on. College football playoff, because I am watching right now ESPN College Game Day. Lots going on. They had all 4 of the Heisman contenders there talking. I was listening a little bit to it. Now it's on mute, obviously. But heading into the college football playoff, Mark, I'm going to pose this question to you. Should Georgia look to make a change at quarterback and go with JT Daniels instead of Stetson Bennett, or do they stick with Bennett through and through here?
I don't think you make the change at this point in time. But guys, the real issue is it's not a quarterback issue. It's an offensive philosophy issue.
Yeah.
Like, Georgia is not built to be in shootouts. It's not who they are. It's not who Kirby Smart wants them to be. It's not how they have recruited. It's not what they've done. We asked all season long, could Georgia score when they needed to? And they were never tested enough to ever find out until the SEC championship game. They got up 10-0, and it looked like it was going to be a bloodbath in favor of Georgia. Quickly, Alabama strikes, takes a 14-10 lead, and then you saw what happened. is Kirby Smart and that offense and Todd Monken, Jeff Monken's cousin, by the way, coach of Army. See, there you go. Go Army. And so he got into a spot where he tried to throw himself back into the game, like literally pass to get back into the game. Wrong answer. Georgia has to run the ball effectively in order to be an effective offense. What is their style? Grind you down, pound you to oblivion, and then beat you at defense. It doesn't matter who's quarterback because they're not built to be in shootouts. Do I think that JT Daniels has a higher ceiling and is a better passer? Yes, but I don't know that it matters because, again, go back to when Georgia was in the national championship game. The final was 26-20. This pace is slower. They're not scoring. I mean, that Rose Bowl game against Oklahoma was an aberration when they scored 56 against that team. That's because their defense was that bad. And you had Nick Chubb.
And Sony Michel ripping off crazy.
70-yard runs. Like they didn't throw their way to 50. They run. And so what does it matter who's at quarterback when your offensive philosophy isn't to throw the football? Like it's a silly question to ask. They got beat by Alabama because Kirby Smart got outcoached, out-schemed, out-adjusted, and beat in every way that a coach can get beat. Nick Saban owned him for 3 hours last Saturday.
Yeah, it was tough to watch.
I want to ask you another question about Georgia real quick because, I mean, we all saw the reports yesterday coming out. Dan Lanning, is he Oregon's next head coach? Then you got some guys coming out saying he's not. I believe Chip Towers and the AJC, I think they got that reporting right. I think that Oregon probably is covering their tail right now because they didn't want that coming out. They probably wanted
because they came back out and said, "Oh, just kidding. This is not actually happening."
They wanted to make the announcement themselves because now Georgia's in a bit of a spot where, does Dan Lanning coach during the semifinals and, potential national championship? How does that work out?
Semifinals and national. He has to. He can't lose right now.
But what I'm saying is,
where is this?
Think about this from an optics perspective. You can't have Dan Lanning accept that job, right? Make the announcement, yeah, I'm Oregon's next head coach, come back to Athens and then coach those guys and truly believe that he's 100% all in and he's trying to win a national championship for Georgia and that his head's not in Eugene, Oregon, trying to figure out how can he build up Oregon to face Lincoln Riley. You know what I mean? Like that was never going to work out. So I think that this got leaked. I trust Chip Towers. What are your thoughts on that situation, and how do you think that affects Georgia? Because now, I mean, it's hard not to judge or not to think about what we saw in the live movement go from 7.5 to 8 now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Lauren on this one. He's going to coach all the way through this thing. As long as Georgia's got a game, he's going to be there coaching. There's no reason not to leave, not to leave a national championship possibility on the table before you take your next job.
Brian Kelly, did you not see what Brian Kelly just did? I mean,
different situation. Different situation. The national championship. He's not
had a chance to the playoff, but I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, he's going to coach, and I don't think the Georgia defense is so deep that the talent there is unreal. So I don't know that even if his motivation, these guys know what to do. Again, defensively, the issue is that last week they didn't make any adjustments. And guys, I am stuck in recency bias on what I saw from Georgia. I still think Michigan is the best defense left in the college football playoff now after what I saw from Georgia. And they certainly have the best pass rushers. And I don't know. I think some of the shine is off this Georgia defense because Alabama turned around and said, guess what? Oh, you're going to come at us? We're just going to take 5-yard out routes all day long and dink and dunk you until you throw up. And then the minute you blow a coverage, we're going to beat you down the field. Like it was such a good scheme game plan. And I guarantee you, Jim Harbaugh is watching that film over and over and over again, looking for holes in a way to get through Georgia's defense. I mean, I can't escape what I saw from Georgia. Now, if they come out and put together a dominant defensive performance and I'm wrong, I will gladly admit it. I just don't know that what Alabama exposed as an offense, against the Georgia defense can't be duplicated. Like I think it can.
Like let's get right into that game then. Georgia taking on Alabama. Obviously, the spread right now is 8. Michigan getting 8 points. Georgia laying 8. I look at this game. I'm betting Michigan money line for that reason. Their defense is solid. Offensively, I think Cade McNamara doesn't have to do anything special. Again, like I've been saying all season, just don't lose your team the game. Hold on to the ball. Protect the bread. Mm-hmm. Get the bread. What do people say? That's the
name of the game for both these quarterbacks in this game.
Yeah.
These are very, very similar style offenses.
Yeah. If Hassan Haskins can find a way to break down Georgia's defense, I think that Michigan's going to stand a really good chance and make it into the college football finals. So,
You'll appreciate this. So
Yeah.
prior to the Big Ten championship game, this guy placed a wager on Michigan to win the national title and got 8-1. Now, I did it with the sole idea of a hedge in mind, thinking it was going to be Georgia number 1 and Michigan number 2, and they would see each other in the college football playoff, and I could hedge. Now
Yeah.
I have no choice but to root for Michigan because the whole
You're
plan.
in on it, baby. Let's
I'm in on it
go.
all the way. I've got to root for the Wolverines at this point. I'm sitting on an 8-1 ticket here for Michigan to win the national title, which I had every intention of hedging in the national title game against Georgia. Georgia didn't hold up their end of the bargain. So now I'm all in on Wolverines. Go blue. I don't know what else. I mean, you know,
I'll send you a shirt. Send me your address. I'll send you a shirt.
thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I can't.
You're in on Michigan. Jared's in on Cincinnati. I think he got a plus 1,800 ticket on Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, you
that's
may as well use that as toilet paper. They're going to get swept.
And he said he's not hedging it. He said he's holding on to it.
Well, why would you? I mean, there's no reason to hedge that. I mean, them winning the national title would be one of the most shocking things in our lifetime, sports wise.
I know. Okay, so I have a funny story about this, and I know I told it the other day, but I was at the Hawks game the other day, working obviously here in Atlanta, Georgia, and one of the Georgia defensive coaches was at the game, and me not knowing, he was talking to Dominique Wilkins and blah, 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 blah. And obviously, Neek, a big Georgia guy too. And they were chatting with each other. And I'm like, what's up, Neek? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, this guy's a Georgia guy too. He's one of the defensive, or he didn't say who he is. He goes, this guy's a big Georgia guy too, blah, blah, blah. And I go, go blue. We were about this far away from each other, right in his face. I go, go blue. And Neek's eyes kind of get big. And the guy's like, like doesn't really say anything, walks away. And Neek's like, he's one of the defensive coaches for Georgia. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go now. I'm just going to go see myself out because that's just embarrassing. But you know what? I got to root for my team through, whether he's a coach for Georgia or a fan of Georgia.
Don't hold back.
Or just a resident
He
of
has your face burned in his brain, and he drove back to Athens that night and just went and sat and watched film, and just he's ready to destroy Michigan, all because of you.
Oh my gosh, I just was so embarrassed. I probably turned red as a tomato, and I was just like,
though, like, has Georgia shown you? And again, it's completely recency bias. What's the reason to think they're going to win this game by more than a touchdown? Like, I haven't come up with a solution with everything that Alabama got to Stetson Bennett. Was it 4 times last game? I mean, what are those defensive ends going to do? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to ignore what I saw and look at past, and then everything I can come up with. Well, that team's nowhere near as good as Michigan. That team is nowhere near as good as Michigan. That team is nowhere near as good as Michigan. And nobody they played has. And is that a problem? Yeah. Is it Georgia's fault? No, because the schedule was predetermined years ago before any of this happened. So they played us on their schedule. They kicked everybody's ass and did what they were supposed to do. Yeah. But they didn't play a real opponent other than Clemson in week 1. And we found out what Clemson really was. And so, look, I think if you're looking for the total in this, I would play the under. The only way Georgia wins this game is if it stays under, because if Michigan gets into the mid 30s like they did against Ohio State, Georgia's done for.
No, I completely agree with you. Now I want to move on to the other game since we haven't talked too much about Alabama, Cincinnati, and we don't want to overlook that one, just thinking Alabama's going to crush them. You know what I mean? But with no John Mechie, NFL talent on Cincinnati secondary, could we see Alabama struggle to put up points like they did? Like, can we see them struggle to put up points? Or do you see this game where Alabama's going to cover the spread? Because I think they're laying 13.5 right now.
Is it 13? I thought it was 14. Because
13.5.
The second it goes to 13.5, I am going to empty my accounts. And
I mean, I would get on it now.
Responsibly.
I would get on it now.
100 gambler. If you have
I would assume as you get closer to kickoff, this line's going to move to 14, maybe even 14.5, hoping they get some buyback on Cincinnati. But my thought process, if I'm Nick Saban, I totally pivot from the game plan I had last week. And you know what I try to do? I just try to push these guys around because we're bigger, better, and stronger up front than they are. Like, lean on them. Just give the ball to Brian Robinson. I know he's banged up a little bit, but they have some other runner. Focus on the run game in this one and force Cincinnati to try to be as physical as you are. And when that happens, Bama's got a huge advantage. Like, that's the game plan I would go in this with. I think he can go at them up front, beat them up front. And then once they're started to wear down in the second half, that's when, if it's close, they'll pull away in the second half and win this thing, by 17, 21, 24, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How is anyone trusting Cincinnati in this spot? That's kind of what I want to know because we've seen this team
I mean, who was
struggle.
Cincinnati's best win this season, Alex? Who was their best win?
Please don't say
Notre
Dame.
Dame?
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, Notre Dame, that's their best.
That
That's their
has
best
to be
win.
their best win of the season. And Notre Dame, you know what I mean?
And what does that say? I mean, I said this at the beginning of the season. Is Notre Dame good? I know.
Yeah, they're good.
It's Notre Dame.
They still finished 5th.
That
They were right out of college football
plays
playoff.
half an ACC schedule and other bad teams from around the country.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sold on.
They were an Alabama loss away from making the college football playoff, but that
It's true.
obviously didn't happen.
It's true, but I'm looking. All right, let me go through Cincinnati's schedule real quick. They're not playing Miami of Ohio, Murray State, Indiana, Notre Dame, Temple, UCF, Navy, who they struggled with, only beat them by 7 points. Tulane, Tulsa, who I only beat by 8 points. USF, which was close for a half.
Mhm.
SMU, ECU, and Houston.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
Bama is not even this. This is like, I think Bama is legitimately 3 tiers better than any team that they played this season, and that's
I will
including
tell
Notre Dame.
you, the only hope that they have is that quarterback Desmond Riddler of Cincinnati has to carry the game on his own with his feet and make plays happen with his legs and keep the Alabama defense guessing. I mean, that's
No, their only hope. Their only hope is that corner. I forget his name right now. Can stick with Jamison Williams. That's their hope.
well, that's not going to happen because again, they could just go away from him. I mean, they can go to the tight ends for crying out loud and still beat those guys down the middle. It's a complete mismatch all around. Even if you take the NFL corners that Cincinnati has and put them in the equation, there's still 5 or 6 other mismatches that Alabama has. I mean, this shouldn't be close, and hopefully it'll end this whole non-power 5 college football playoff experiment. Saying, yeah, they're not even close. I would have rather had Ohio State in playing Alabama in one semifinal than Cincinnati.
Well, we're gonna get expanded
Yeah,
playoffs.
it's just one of those games where the best defense for Cincinnati is keeping Alabama's offense off the field.
Keep
kind of
moving
run
the
out the
chains.
clock.
They have to
That's what you're
look. They have
saying.
2 shots down the field. Desmond Ridler's a good quarterback. Like, I mean, he's a guy that will likely get drafted maybe in the mid rounds of the NFL draft, and I think he's very capable. But I just don't know that he's going to find a lot of opportunities for these guys to get open. And how quickly will Bama get home to him? His legs may be the only thing that saves him.
The thing that's tricky about this Bama team, though, and we've seen it throughout this year, they play down to competition. That's my only concern.
I would say this game script my guess is it would turn out similar to what Tennessee Bama did. It was close for a half, and then Bama scored early in the third quarter, and all of a sudden they panicked, and Tennessee tried to throw their way into the thing to catch up instead of just sticking with a game plan. And before you knew it, it was 3 and out. Bama scores again, another 3 and out, and another field goal, and all of a sudden you're chasing. And I think that's how Bama pulls away in the second half. It might be close for a half, but Bama should cover this easily.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you coming on the show. Best of luck to your team tonight. Thank you for
I'm
your
chirping
service.
you all day,
Seriously.
brother.
Go
All
Army.
day.
So respecting you. We so appreciate having you on the show. Best of luck to Army. Thank you for your service. Have a great Saturday. All right, Alex, before we end, I know you have an NHL pick. Mine is actually my play of the day, so I'm not going to say it yet, but let's take it to the ice. Give me your ice pick heading into tonight because there's a full slate of games.
Full slate. I'm going with the Blues tonight.
Blues not making you feel very blue.
Blues, but I'm going to go with a 3-way money line.
Ooh.
So I can get
Better value.
Get a little better value. It makes me feel a little bit better because I just don't think this Canadiens team is any good at all. Averaging just over 2 goals a game, ranking 29th in the league. 5-game losing streak, just scored 7 goals, so they're struggling right now in a big way. Meanwhile, we got St. Louis; they're on the ups right now. And the Blues, their offense is pretty good, and I think that they'll be able to take care of business in regulation. 7th ranked offense in the league, or 7th ranked goal scoring, something like that in the league right now. So I'm gonna go with the Blues to get the win in regulation, the 3-way money line thing. So give me that.
I like it. All right, Pickswise, 3-star play of the day. Who you got?
Let me go to the website right now because I'm not good at my job and I forgot to look at the 3-star play of the day.
Can you get it together, Alex? Please.
Oh wow. Okay, so we got actually one of my plays. The Blues is a 3-star play. Love that for me. Let's go to college basketball.
Absolutely love that for you.
Let's go to college basketball. We got from our friend Matt Markert, and he is going with Santa Clara and Cal. He's going with the under 138 and a half.
You love the under.
That is a nice late tip off. I believe 9 p.m. is the tip for that. So if you want to head over to Pickswise.com and check out Matt's reasoning, you can do that. But that is a 3-star play of the day in college basketball. Great day of college basketball.
I love it. All right, our best bets of the day. I'm going to go first because I want to hear you just pronounce this team like 6 times in a row as fast as you can for your best bet. My best bet, Lightning taking on Ottawa. I have Lightning puck line at plus 115. I love the value there. Ottawa, they're well rested. They had 3 days off. The problem for the Sens, for me, is they've struggled when it comes to keeping the puck out of their own net. They rank last in the league in goals per game. Last time I checked, if the puck's in the back of your own net, you ain't winning too many games, right?
No,
Tampa Bay has 5 straight wins. They have the ability to light the lamp basically on any given moment at on any given night at any given moment. Sorry, the coffee's starting to kick in. My heart's racing like a baby bunny rabbit right now. And the Lightning, they're in a 3-way battle for the top spot in the Atlantic Division right now. They ride the momentum from the most recent surge. I think they get the victory here, and they do it by more than 2 goals for maximum betting value. So Lightning puck line over Ottawa plus 115. It's going to be a good game. All right, yours best bet of the game.
Hold on, before I get to my pick, I got some beef with the chat right now that I want to hash out. I want to hash this out right now because I'm looking at the chat and we start talking puck lines. You give your picks and everyone's like, "Yes, finally, Lauren giving her pick, the Jabbar lane. Let's talk about finally the good stuff." Where's the love for my picks? Where's the love here? I mean, listen, we all work hard here. I feel like I'm gonna give out a pretty good pick here. I would just like a little bit.
Alex is just slaving away with
a little love here. Yeah, just a little love. I mean, Lauren, I hope your pick wins. I've been tailing your picks because they do win. But I mean, just I would like to feel a little bit.
Except for my Steelers pick did not win the other day, but it was close. All I needed was them to score a touchdown at the end of the game. I did not need them to make the 2-point conversion, but I needed them to score.
All you needed was Chase Claypool to not be Chase Claypool in that moment, and for Mike Zimmer to just have one more opportunity to go full Mike Zimmer. That's what you needed.
Yeah, I'm
then we got here no love for Alex. All right, fine. I'm just gonna give my pick. No one cares about my pick anyway, but I'm gonna give it out anyway. I'm going to UFC tonight.
I care, Alex.
We got Cody Garbrandt against Kai Kara-France, right? Big flyweight fight tonight, and I'm gonna go with that
big UFC guy, people. Big
UFC guy. I'm definitely ordering this fight. It's a pretty good card. I'm gonna go with this fight to end in a KO or TKO minus 125 right now. This is a big fight for Cody. I wanted to pick him to actually win this fight, but this is his flyweight debut. Not sure how his body, specifically his power, is going to react to going from 135 to 125. But both these guys, Cody and Kai Kara-France, have knockout ability, knockout strength, knockout power, all that. Both have 10 knockout finishes in their career. It could happen tonight. I think it's going to happen. Kara-France coming off a first-round knockout in his last fight. So I'm going with the KO, TKO knockout tonight. So I don't care who does it. It's going to happen, though.
That's a knockout best bet, Alex. You like my play on words there? Good for you. I love it. Let me know how it goes. I appreciate that. All right, that's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Alex Glaze, I'm Lauren Jabara. Best of luck tonight, you guys, and today, because there's so many games going on during the day as well. We'll see you tomorrow for a Sunday fun day. Let's get it. Let's bet it.